I uploaded a video a little while ago talking about how Vampire Survivors is the equivalent of TikTok sludge content, how it's a boring monotony that goes on forever and peaks in the first few hours, how it's depressing that as a society, this is the game we were drawn to, with its flashing lights, loot box animations, and negligible amount of actual gameplay. I gave the game a 1.5 out of 5. Then, I heard about Picayune Dreams, which is a Survivors-like game, and even though I had just released a video shitting on Vampire Survivors, it drew me in for a variety of reasons. First of all, the game had a heavier bullet hell influence. The gameplay looked way more fun to me. Secondly, the game has a story. A weird RPG Maker-esque horror story, which you unlock pieces of after defeating each boss. Thirdly, I really liked the look of the style. Robots in space and weird 3D models of creatures coming to get you. And finally, the breakcore soundtrack, oh my god, I love it. I turned my volume right up whenever I played this game. Okay, so the gameplay. Hordes of enemies are constantly moving toward you, and you have to survive. Every time that you increase your mortality by 5, you have to fight a boss. This spices up the gameplay, because instead of facing off dozens of little enemies, you now have to focus your attention on the single strong enemy. Against the many enemies, you have to focus mainly on not getting overwhelmed, finding escape routes, mowing down the horde, and collecting XP. Against the boss though, you put all of your attention on surviving and just hoping the boss dies really soon, learning attack patterns, dodging bursts of bullets. What I'm getting at is there's a lot more to think about than in Vampire Survivors. Picayune Dreams is a lot more involved. Not only do you have to move, you have to aim as well. There are some weapons that don't require input, but most of them will require you to point at enemies, which is already one step harder than Vampire Survivors. When you level up and get to choose your upgrade, the game doesn't tell you exactly what it does. Well, kind of. You have to read this code to understand how the weapons work and what the upgrades do. But as a computer science student, it was no issue for me. I enjoyed thinking of powerful combinations of weapons and skills that I could try out in different runs. Like getting the flamethrower, and then also getting the skill which makes all enemies with a status effect take extra damage. Or getting the bouncy balls, and then upgrading my weapon size and speed to make the balls really big and fast. Or just getting 13 defense turrets to completely overpower enemies with streams of bullets. One of the biggest flaws of Vampire Survivors is that if you're good enough, you can spend the final 10 minutes of the level standing in the middle of the screen and not doing anything. At this point, you've already won. But in Picayune Dreams, you have to fight every minute of your run. You don't get to that all-powerful state. You won't max out all of your weapons. Maybe hours into the post-game, you can become that powerful. But at least during the main story, you won't ever get that strong. And that's a good thing. It keeps the gameplay active. It means you actually have to pay attention to the game and try. There's a skill tree with permanent upgrades, but you won't be able to unlock every upgrade like you eventually do in Vampire Survivors. The maximum amount of skill points that you can have is 20, I think, so at the end of the game you're not a super strong god with unlimited power. You have to choose which perks you really want to unlock the most. You can only equip like a fifth of the total perks. However, you can respec whenever you want to try out different combinations of perks, which is really fun. Vampire Survivors was fun in the first few hours because you were a little bit weak. You actually had to try. But after that it becomes too easy and boring with no real end in sight. Picayune Dreams overcomes this flaw by not letting you get to that point. It has the fun part of the game, getting stronger and being able to kill more enemies and getting further into the game with each run. But then after all of that, here is the best part. It ends. The game only took me like 8 hours to beat. There is no descent into boredom because there's a cutoff point. It's fun, you get stronger, then you finish the story and you're done. It was refreshing to finish a game like this in only 8 hours. None of the infinite drivel of a Survivors like. There's no need to manually increase the difficulty in this game because there's no need to play forever. The story segments are really fun to play through. I won't talk about it here, but it shows you the backstory of all of the bosses that you fight, while also being super creepy. The fact that there's a story like this at all in this genre of game is really neat. It puts the game one level above the rest of the genre because it has that extra depth to it. Instead of fighting nothing creatures as a nothing protagonist, and it all culminating into nothing, you're fighting real characters with at least a semblance of depth to them, and there's a reason behind everything. Overall, Picayune Dreams is so fun. I couldn't stop thinking about it whenever I wasn't playing. It's like if Vampire Survivors was good. The gameplay is light years more fun. It melds genres with its RPG horror story sections, not to mention the amazing soundtrack and funky art style. I'm giving Picayune Dreams a 4.5 out of 5. I think that you should play it.